Okay, first thing, stop overthinking. Stop overthinking everything you play. What I like to do is I like to think almost in a way of like a solo, like we've heard it many times, a solo has to take you somewhere. It has to take you on a journey, right? A lot of players, when I hear them solo, maybe what it really feels like is it feels like a stick of dynamite going off, and I just go, whoa, really quick, and then I'm out. It's almost like I want a solo to take me somewhere, not only note choice and tone, but I want to feel it. It's almost like a composition. Even if it's a total improv solo, I want it to just teleport me where you are. You know what I mean? So when I listen to great old solos by like, I'm thinking right now of like old Allman Brothers stuff, you know, when I would hear Dwayne Allman just go off and he would just go on this really weird journey and you're following along and it's like I'm right there behind him. Or, you know, we talked about Clapton, old Cream stuff. It's like, where is this going? And I think a lot of that comes in with overthinking. It can kind of maybe keep you inside of a border. So for me, the biggest thing I like to do when I start soloing is I like to say, okay, what am I trying to say? Where do I want to take you? So for instance, one of the things I never do is start at the top of the register. If I do, it's one note and then I'm back down, because I feel like when a lot of players will play, let's say we're playing in G. They'll play and their solo comes in and they're right up top, right up. Okay, cool. But now I feel like I have that. So when you come down, it's almost as if I heard the top and now I might be let down about what's going to come up next. So for me, if I were to approach that solo, I'd start with that big sting. And then I'm coming down into another register. I just got your attention. It's kind of like I slapped you. I went, hey, and then follow me down here. And then it's like I want to take you on a journey. So maybe I'll incorporate some sounds that, you know, a flair. Let's say I want to give you sort of a country flair. So I go like this. Maybe that's going to be how I start every section and I take you somewhere else. So the biggest tip I would say is don't overthink it. Just kind of let yourself almost write your own kind of composition in a solo. So that's the first one. So let's stay in G. So one of the things I like to do is I like to almost have it like, this is so technical, it's almost like it slithers like a snake up the fretboard. So let's say I'm going to mix major and minor together, because obviously that's what I love. So if I were to play something like this. Speed it up. So that kind of lick, it's like, whoa, you're giving me everything. But I think about it, it's almost like you're running and you're kind of dipping and dodging, right? So what I'm thinking there is I'm almost thinking in boxes. And what I like to think about is as simple as this. It's all basically going around minor pentatonic to major, starting down here on the lowest register I can, which. So I'm switching into that next box, but then I want to hit you with a little bit of major. What I tend to find that I do a lot is these repetitious licks, if that's the right word. And it's almost like using different bits of the fingerboard, whether it's major or minor or Mixolydian or Dorian, and running it up to this kind of release at the top. So it's a tension to release. So. I think it's a really cool way if you want to have a little bit more of that boxy kind of sound. It really comes down to me, what I think about is the rhythm of it. A lot of times when I solo, I'm almost like floating over it, passages, which I think is a really beautiful thing. You know, let's say I'm playing in G and I'm floating over it. I'm thinking more of like a. And then all of a sudden, here's a rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's more of like grabbing the bull by the horns. So it's like you can float, you can fly over it, or it's like you lock in. Another cool one that I like to do is this kind of this repetitious thing where I do it with my fingers. So it starts out, it's like you would play minor pentatonic. So you're starting on that 3rd fret, and then you're going across that 5th fret. And what ends up happening is you repeat this and it goes. But what I'm doing is I'm doing this kind of rolling pattern, and I'm switching through all these little boxes and kind of building it up, and it comes out with this beautiful release at the top. So it's just something that I've kind of started to do where I'll play, right? And I'll go. So stuff like that, I think more of either flying over it or I'm kind of just really into it, rhythmically. Here's a really cool one that I do a lot that I don't see a lot of guys do is I got it from the guitar player David Grissom. I remember going to I loved his band Storyville, and I went to a clinic when I was a kid, and he would do this thing, think Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, where they would keep a thumb over the top, but he would play using that kind of acting as a bass. Even if there's a bass player there, he would just be holding a root and playing over that. It's something that brings a lot of power into lead playing. So, for instance, we'll stay in G. All I'm going to do is I'm going to play major and minor pentatonic, but I'm going to kind of just pedal tone this. And it gives like this, like a... And you can be as dirty or as precise as you want, and it'll always make your face do that. So check it out, like a... So if you think about that and you're soloing, let's say you're in G and you're playing your single note stuff and you're going, it's kind of cool. Getting along more with that, one of the things that I really love to do is I like to incorporate open strings. So if we have open strings on the top or the bottom of lead lines, it makes your leads just sound that much more distinct and more powerful. And it can give you a really cool rub. So if we're in G, think about it as simple as this. Play what you would normally play, but strike an open G with it. And it starts to sound like this, like pentatonic. It takes a little while to get used to, but you start to understand kind of the push and pull of it. And even underneath. And it's not only in that register, you can move it all over the neck. So you have, and all I'm doing is I'm really thinking about that open G string. And what I found all over the neck is there's all of these things. E, of course, you start to think to yourself, okay, what can I use to drone in E? Of course, low E, high E. But you can also really use like the B string. You get a really cool rub. So let's say we use our high E and we play this. The B. Start to harmonize with yourself, right? So I think that's a really cool thing. I think I stole that from Hendrix with all that kind of. It's just cool. And I found that in every single key, you can find something relative on an open string, you know, even F sharp, you know. The B and the high E. A flat's a little weird, but there's something even beautiful if you use the wrong note. Like, check this out. Like, I'll play a high E, and I'm in. What is that? You're like, I don't know, but it sounded cool, you know? A, of course, we have our A, we have our E, we have a... It's just something that I think as a player you could explore, and you could find a lot of cool stuff. When I was really in the woodshed and thinking about all this stuff, the only thing I thought of was, how can I make all this stuff with my hands? So like another one, like I would think, how do I do harmonics? So I started looking at like bass players, and I would see, you know, like using my thumb across, holding it and using the index to find the... Right? So I'd start I don't think that there's anything impossible on the guitar as long as you're willing to jump full in and say, it's almost like get your ego out of the way or get your preconceived notions, and it's like you'll figure out how to make that sound. You know what I mean?
Lovely. That's great stuff. So thank you, Jared, for sharing some of your amazing soloing tips there. It's great.
Cheers, man. Happy to.